Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle Centre's Tuesday Talk programme. If this is your first time joining the Tuesday Talk programme, an especially warm welcome to you, and I hope you'll enjoy your time with us this evening. Tonight we have a speaker with us, Liza Horan, who is going to be talking about the very nature of mind, body, spirit, and why now is the time, more than ever, to be discussing the nature of mind, body, spirit. I think that we can all agree that life as we know it has changed since this global pandemic, and the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle Centre as a mind, body, spirit centre was very quick to go online, to have to change its ways and embrace modern technology. Bit scary for us all, but we managed very quickly to put together a programme of events that reflected the nature of the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle Centre, which is to educate, inform and entertain, and really to deal with all matters mind, body, spirit, whether it be mediumship, meditation, education, you name it, we do it. And we discovered that not only is it possible to communicate with the dead, full stop, but you can even do it over Zoom. Who knew? So tonight's speaker, as I mentioned, is Liza Horan. Now, Liza is the editor of mindstreamconnect.com, which I have put in the chat bar for you to check out Liza's website, so please do that. And this is a wonderful website that covers mind, body, spirit and looks at the opportunity for greater health and happiness, which is, after all, the entire nature of mind, body, spirit. It's what we're about. And the venture, as she says, the venture merges her personal interest in wellness, spirituality and the mystical with her professional, which is an experience as a journalist and digital strategy leader. Now, I love that, digital strategy leader. Sounds fantastic. Now, Liza's worked for companies such as the New York Times and tennis.com, so she's no stranger to the mainstream, but she's also a devoted student of the intuitive arts. And she says she's very grateful for the many profound development experiences at the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle Centre, which is very kind of her to say. So we at the Centre are really passionate about what we do. It's why we offer the Tuesday Talk programme as an educational tool so that people can find out more about mind, body, spirit. Because it's not one thing, it's many things. It's a multifaceted diamond. And Liza's one of such diamonds. So you've heard enough for me. Without further ado, I am going to hand you over to Liza. And when she's finished her talk, you'll have the opportunity to ask her questions at the end. So you can either put your question to her in the chat and I will read it out, or if you wish to speak to herself, at the bottom of your participants tab, there's a wee blue hand option. So when we get to the question bit at the end, if you want to ask your question, you can click on that and I will find you and unmute you and you can put your question to Liza. But in the meantime, I hand you over to Liza.
Great. Hello, everyone. And Chloe, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I am so happy to be here with you all and to see a lot of friendly faces who I do know and the others of you who have joined and I'll get to know. I have 1 hour basically to talk about my favorite topic and bring 3 years of research and learning into this space. So I'm going to do my best right now to summarize what is a very vast topic. What do we mean by mind, body, spirit? And what does it mean for us right now? So what I will begin by doing is sharing my screen just to give you the agenda here, because what we don't want is for you to tune into a talk and be looking at a screen the whole time. I don't want that for you either. So it's really light, but I just wanted to lay out to you what we're going to cover. So I'm going to share with you what literally led to this moment. Why are all of us together right now talking about why the time is now for mind, body, spirit to shine. And then I want to reflect on some of the research that's out there, the evidence that there is momentum behind a movement to bring mind, body, spirit into the mainstream society. And beliefs and behaviors are changing. And I think you'll be very encouraged by what the facts are. I'm going to run through 10 facts with you. I got a lot more, but just going to do 10 tonight. Then we're going to look at the challenges. I'm sure you are fully aware of the problems that we have in society right now for all the areas that mind, body, spirit can salve. SALVE, to be a balm for some of these problems and struggles that we've got, all of which have been made even more dire because of the pandemic. But in every challenge, there's an opportunity. And so I actually approach everything with what's the challenge, what's the opportunity, what are the considerations, and how do we get to a solution? And the considerations are weighing all the facts, but also asking the experts. Now, I'm no expert. I'm not a therapist. I'm a media person. You know, I don't work in mind, body, spirit. It's my passion. So what I've done is I've gone out to ask you, the people who work in the mind, body, spirit workforce, and the people that are enthusiasts about its services. And then we're going to talk about what we can do about it. It's very important to talk about what we can do. And we are in a great position right now to make some very positive changes. So I'd like to begin right now by telling you just a minute or two about what brought me literally to be speaking with you right now. I am somebody who has always been passionate about health, exercise, and nutrition. When I was 14, I wanted to be the editor of a glossy magazine called American Health back in the day. So I have always been committed to health and wellness, as well as being a participant and potentially working in the industry. I've also been always intrigued by the big questions. What's the point of life? You know, how does our soul express itself? You know, God and the universe and nature, all these big questions. Fascinated by physics, metaphysics, fascinated by the spiritual, and also the mystical. I was walking today and the word wonder just came to me. And we have to allow wonder in our life. We can't possibly know everything. And, you know, to give the chance that we don't know everything, to wonder at times is, I think, magical and beautiful. So we don't have to always know the answers and everything, but to ask the question and to ponder is so powerful. So I wanted to let you know that's where I'm coming from. And when it comes to the spiritual, I've got religious background and I've got the mystical aspect. My grandmother from Ireland absolutely had intuitive gifts, psychic. I could tell you about that a lot. My mother has those gifts too. The house I lived in for my first 4 years was built on Indian burial ground. If you know anything about American Indians, you do not build on Indian burial ground. The house was active with spirits, mischievous, but not malevolent, not to us anyway. So I just want you to know that I come from, an orientation toward the mystical arts, the intuitive arts. I didn't ever hear of spiritualism until I came to Edinburgh. I never knew you could take classes to develop your intuition. all of this was news to me because there's no place to find this information in the mainstream. Maybe now it's a little easier than it was 20 years ago, but I'm telling you that as a consumer, as an enthusiast about all these things, I found that it was very hard to get information and to get trusted information. Now, when I was searching for different therapies and different practices, I came upon this problem. I would go to magazines, I would go to websites, I would try to find the authorities in these holistic therapies. And I'm going back years now, and I couldn't find anything that was definitive and authoritative. Fast forward till about 3 years ago, when I said, this is a problem to be solved. It was actually 2014. And I said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and see, is there anybody that governs this area about mind, body, spirit? And over again, I could not find what are all the therapies, practices, and disciplines that look at me holistically, that might answer some of the questions, the existential questions, the spiritual aspect about life, but also the physical ones. And I came up empty-handed every time. So I set out to try to fill the gap. And that's what my company Mindstream is all about. The goal of Mindstream as a media company, it doesn't mean we're the experts in these things. It means that we are looking to raise the visibility about these therapies and practices and connect people to authentic experiences, whether they do it on a DIY basis by reading a book, watching a video, going through an app, or listening to some audio, or connecting with the professional practitioners in these areas. Now, I'll get into some of the challenges of the industry, but I just wanted to tell you that I'm coming at this from the angle of I'm somebody who's looking for this information and I can't find it. And this has been going on for decades. So first, I'd like to begin by sharing how I define mind, body, spirit. And that is, obviously, it's holistic. The medical community will call it integrative. But specifically, the areas within mind, body, spirit are complementary and alternative medicine, natural health therapies, spiritual growth and healing, and even personal development. There used to be a time that you'd walk into a bookstore and there would be a self-improvement section, and then there would be a religion section, maybe a psychology section. Do you know that these things have now been rebranded under mind, body, spirit? Next time you go into W.H. Smith or some other big bookstore, you may be surprised to find the mind, body, spirit section. So what disciplines fall under mind, body, spirit? Everything from acupuncture and angels to massage, meditation, energy healing disciplines like Reiki, flower essences, herbal medicine, nutritional therapy, the angelic realm, spirit connections, psychic mediumship, faith, prayer. So I like to say from acupuncture to Zimbate. Zimbate is an ancient energy healing that's conducted at the highest vibrational level. Apparently it was lost for 1,000 years, but it's back now. So the mainstream aspects, of course, of mind, body, spirit are things that everybody recognizes, like meditation, massage, and yoga, but there are lesser known ones. There are actually hundreds of therapies within mind, body, spirit. And I will confess that when I speak to different crowds, I use different words. When I go to some of these entrepreneur events or speak to bankers and corporate people, they shut down when I say spirit. I say complementary, alternative, natural health, and spiritual disciplines. Sometimes I leave out spiritual because there is some sort of a taboo still around this word. And I feel very strongly that we need to shine the light on that aspect in the mainstream. So Mindstream is about bringing mind, body, spirit pathways to health and happiness into the mainstream. That's really key. I'm speaking to the choir here, I think. But the fact is, every person is greater than the sum of his or her physical, mental, or emotional, or spiritual parts. And finally, science is sort of catching up to this. There's still a ways to go, but there's some very encouraging information. So what I'd like to do here is first ask you, I'd like to look at the crowd, and if you could just wave. A lot of people have their video off, and that's all right. But the people who are on, can you just give me a wave if you work in the mind, body, spirit area as a practitioner? Okay, and how about enthusiasts, people who participate in some of these activities? Okay, yeah, very often you get people who are working in this area also are customers of these services. So that's great, thank you. So I wonder if anybody else has had this feeling that we are learning about the equipment we've been given. It seems that I see you laughing there. Yes, it seems that we have forgotten ancient ways. We've forgotten natural ways of being, how our physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, how these systems all work, and we're relearning them. We're relearning them because there's clinical research being done now. For instance, nature being proven to improve symptoms. There's a growing pile of evidence to show that. Now, wasn't that a no-brainer? Didn't we all have that experience? So I think what we're doing is we are relearning and starting to believe things when science says it's so. The press will very easily throw issues of credibility at mind, body, spirit therapies when they don't feel there's evidence there. State-run healthcare won't accept therapies that they don't feel there's a pile of evidence for, even when we know it to be true, for example. So these are some of the challenges. But I think I've had a real challenge over the last 3 years investigating what information there is about this industry that falls under the mind, body, spirit area, because it's frankly been like banging my head against a wall to try to size the economy and find out how big the workforce is when you have parts of society that don't even recognize the value of some of the aspects that are within mind, body, spirit. Interestingly, there are more studies now going into the mind, body, spirit area at the academic level than ever before. Because one of the problems with lack of evidence is that people aren't choosing these topics. because they might feel they're taboo. They might feel they're shrouded in some sort of suspicion. So what we have to do is we have to say, no, there's no taboo. These actually have merit, and encourage the study and the research. And I'll be sharing some interesting findings that came out. But just going to check in on the agenda here. What I found is that the mind, body, spirit industry is fragmented. It's a collection of cottage industries, from yoga, Reiki, massage, to spiritualism and art therapy, and everybody's working sort of in their bubble, rightfully so, but they're not necessarily connected. I even called the government's an organization that's sanctioned by the government here in the UK called the Complementary and Natural Health Council. And I said, I need to size the industry for complementary and natural health. Can you tell me how many people work in this area in the UK? Can you tell me how many people are taking advantage of these services? What's the size of the economy? And the head of the CNHC kind of sighed, and she said, those are numbers we would really like. I said, is that right? They're a professional registry that is an authority from the UK government, and they don't have the numbers. That just sounds a little impossible to me. And she said, well, let me tell you something. If, for instance, you wanted to find out how many Reiki practitioners exist in the UK, she said, just like we did, we went to the Reiki associations and we asked how many members they had. But they wouldn't reveal that because they're in competition with each other. Is anybody surprised to hear that? How can we have a voice for Reiki if the people leading Reiki are competing with each other? This is my question. How can we have a voice for the mind, body, spirit movement if we're all working in our own bubbles? This is one of the questions. So the industry is fragmented. Christine, you're waving. Okay, great. So the struggle that I had in learning about the mind, body, spirit landscape, beginning in the UK, but also in the US and worldwide, is that number one, it's fragmented. That's a challenge. Number two, it's largely unregulated. Most of the therapies, disciplines, practices within this umbrella are unregulated or self-regulated by those cottage industries, if you will, those niches. And that's fine, except it opens you up to having various standards. There are some people who train to be a yoga instructor by doing 6 weekends in a course. There are other people who train to become a certified yoga instructor by studying a year or more. And that's true for all these therapies. So when you have an unregulated or self-regulated industry, you could potentially have different levels of expertise, and what that can do, different standards, different management of that industry can really open you up to issues of consumer protection. In fact, the CNHC is one of the organizations that's looking out for the consumer. They have a registry of professionals who have met the standards set by the government. They have insurance. They've done this kind of training. They belong to that type of association. And they've been very proactive to keep their education and standards up. Well, what that does is just like when you shop for a lawyer or an accountant, you can check their credentials. Well, anybody who's on the registry of the CNHC, it's like a stamp of approval. You can check that these people are complying. And I don't know, I'm sure there's people on this call, and I've heard too many stories of people who did not have somebody qualified give them some sort of treatment or session, and there are actual abuses going on. I just heard of one the other day from a very high qualified, top qualified mind, body, spirit professional who said the first time she went to somebody, they asked her, how much money do you have to invest in this going forward? I'd like to know right now if you're going to be able to continue this course of, treatment, if you will. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, this person is a psychic medium with the Spiritualist organization. And the first time she ever went to a psychic, that was one of the first questions that came up. And that is really shocking. And I have another friend that happened to, and that was in both of those examples were in the United States. But there are a lot of stories about people unfortunately being taken advantage of. And when you're dealing with an unregulated industry that doesn't have a pile of evidence for its disciplines, those are the kind of bad stories that make the headlines. And it hurts all of us. It hurts all of us. So the fragmented industry that's largely unregulated brings credibility issues around the disciplines and around the practitioners themselves. And unfortunately, very often people will have one bad experience and then write off the whole discipline, which is very unfortunate. So I've also found that the people who are working in these disciplines are largely self-employed, working in a part-time capacity, or they're in their second career. The good news is they absolutely love what they do. They feel called to their work and they're very dedicated, but they also feel very overwhelmed because they have a lot of business admin. They're also in the position of having to educate the public, educate the client about whatever the service is, and then manage that relationship. And I think it's very hard. There are other industries that have organizational bodies that are speaking on behalf of the professionals. And they're saying, here's why you need a certified accountant, that sort of thing. And so mind, body, spirit practitioners, because there are so many therapies and topics within, have an extra challenge. And that's something that we need to figure out how to help them. So what I came away from this study for 3 years trying to learn about the mind, body, spirit landscape is that there are organizational challenges. And the fact is, we need to make it easier for the public to understand what you all do in the mind, body, spirit disciplines. We need to make it easy for them to get this information. And we also need to help the professional practitioners such as yourself. We need to help them position themselves to their ideal clients in a way that's authentic and builds trust. This is absolutely essential. So credibility, trust, and information are real priorities. So what I'd like to do now is tell you the closest that I got to finding the answers to my questions were that there's a lot of information about health. There's a lot of information about the wellness industry. Well, mind, body, spirit disciplines are really about improving quality of life. Whether you have a condition, you're sick, an injury, or you want to discover what is the right path for you in life. Mind, body, spirit pathways can help you discover improved health and happiness in both cases. And sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. When I came up with no answers on the mind, body, spirit landscape, I said, where can I look for information? The wellness industry is one, and then spirituality or religion is the other one. And I have to say, I found a lot more information about health and wellness industries than I found from spirituality. We found that people are not going to places of worship in the numbers that they used to, that more people over the years have been identifying as spiritual, not religious. Many people are taking what they like from a variety of ancient wisdom traditions, but making it work for them. So there is a distinction between being spiritual and being and practicing an organized religion. And I'm sure that's not coming as any surprise to anybody on this call, but I just wanted to say that I really had a hard time finding information about religious practices and spiritual practices for the kinds of information that I'm looking for. But I found a load of information about health and wellness, and I'd like to share that with you. So going back to the agenda, I wanted to share this really good news with you. The momentum that we're feeling, beliefs and behaviors are changing. So I didn't put these on slides because that's not what a talk is, especially on a screen. You don't want to be reading words. So I'm just going to go through these 10 facts. Fact 1, society has shifted from reacting to disease to preventing disease. Instead of reacting to, I've got a problem, I'm going to go to the doctor, people are more in tune with, how do I prevent illness? How can I be well? The fact that backs this up is fantastic. I just spoke to someone an hour ago at the Global Wellness Institute, which tracks the wellness industry on the planet. And she told me that the latest figure is that the global wellness economy is now $5 trillion, which is 3.8 trillion pounds. That's more than 3 times the size of the pharmaceutical industry. So did you hear that? Wellness industry is more than 3 times the size of the pharma industry. This is very exciting because go back decades and that wasn't the case. Now there's a lot of things that fall into what they call the global wellness economy. Mind, body, spirit does not have its own category because the fact is it cuts across so many other categories. It cuts across what they call fitness, which includes yoga, to things like wellness, travel, going to a spa. But this is an absolutely significant figure. And the closest the global wellness industry gets to tracking mind, body, spirit on its own is by lumping it in with fitness. And they go so far to say mind, body. So that is improvement. That's really great news. The other thing is that the wellness economy is growing more than twice as fast as the global economy. So what I'm trying to do here is tell you that there is money and it's growing in the wellness industry, and the mind, body, spirit disciplines all fit within that. So, you know, the waterline is rising and all boats are rising with that. So that's really great. Fact number 2, business is booming. I know I'm going to be throwing a lot of numbers to you right now, and if anybody wants a copy of this, my email address is on the last slide, and I'll share that with you. But I'll tell you right now, the UK market for complementary and alternative is the UK wellness economy is £7 billion, and it's growing. Alternative medicine was estimated to jump £1 billion between 2015 and 2020. In 2020, it's meant to be £6.7 billion. So these are just big numbers to tell you it's good news. Yoga and Pilates is jumping to almost £1 billion in 2020. More than 4,200 businesses employ more than 16,000 workers in this area. One of the very more interesting facts that I found was that in 2017, book sales were down. Overall book sales were down in 2017, except for one category. Anybody want to take a guess? Mind, body, spirit. Not only were they positive, but they were up 13.3%. If you take no other fact from the evidence, think of that. All book sales were down, except Mind, Body, Spirit was up over 13%. One of the takeaways I'd really love for you to take away from this talk is that if you work in Mind, Body, Spirit, you should feel very confident to speak about this profession, not just because you love it, not just because your clients get value from it, but because it is a legitimate industry. And I'm sorry I'm fired up, but I am fired up. People talking in hushed tones about, oh, this is what I do, or, it's not quite accepted, in the mainstream. Be proud about it. I'm going to be launching a research section on mindstreamconnect.com in the next month, and the facts are going to be there. And so I really hope that all the people who work in this area are going to feel the absolute confidence to be walking down the street and not wait 3 minutes into the conversation to gauge, can I talk to this person? Are they thinking I'm going to be woo-woo or any of that business? There's a lot of evidence, and that's what these 10 facts are about, are meant to give you confidence about this industry. Meditation is the fastest growing wellness trend in the United States. I mean, I've got a pile of facts here, but suffice it to say that the number of people who are meditating from 2012 to 2017 tripled. And these numbers only come out every so years. But, who was talking about meditation 20 years ago? Probably a lot of people on this call, but in the mainstream, it wasn't. Corporate meditation programs are in play now. So let yoga and meditation and mindfulness and Reiki show you what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. Fact number 3, experts are forecasting growth for the disciplines that fall under mind, body, spirit. The global wellness industry every year issues the top 10 fitness trends. And do you know, I've got 7 here that fall under mind, body, spirit. I'm going to share them with you. One is that we are going to stop talking about how important is sleep and how do we get more sleep, and let's put sleep pods in our office and all that business. Many people may be working from their bedroom now, so that's not an issue any longer. But big corporate companies are doing that. Instead of focusing on sleep, we're focusing on circadian rhythms. Now, this sounds like another no-brainer to probably the choir here, right? But the science, the logic of understanding the equipment we were given and respecting that, going back to nature, to our circadian rhythms. That is one of the trends. It was the #1 trend listed by the global wellness industry this year. The next one is mental wellness and technology. We know how important mental health is, but mental wellness is being proactive about it, and technology is just booming in this area. The third one is energy medicine. So much scientific research is coming through on energy medicine, and people are going to start using the word healing. That's not really in the mainstream quite yet. So if you work with energy, your time to shine is only going to increase. I'm sure you're shining right now where you are, but what I'm saying is that awareness about energy healing is only going to increase. So you should feel very encouraged by that. Organized religion jumps into wellness was very interesting. That trend was about the fact that organized religion used to see exercise and fitness and things as a vanity move, but that's not the case anymore. Organized religion, and many of whom have rules and things, have actually integrated movement and other wellness and fitness aspects into their ministry. I wrote about that on Mindstream a couple months ago, and again, I'm happy to share links to all this information. People will be going away, not for a week or two on holiday, but they will be taking wellness sabbaticals, actually getting away and finding a place where they can do a bit of work, but that they can also focus on their wellness. And the reason this is so important is because they're going to be at heightened productivity, heightened creativity, and rejuvenation, restoration. What I'm telling you is that authorities in the wellness industry recognize how holistic we are, and money is going to be spent developing all these things. So it's absolutely fantastic. Sound therapy, music therapy for wellness, having physical impact, emotional impact, this well-rounded wellness. I mean, the people in the global wellness industry, again, we're talking about $5 trillion here, 3.8 trillion pounds. These people got the memo. They got the memo about energy healing and sound healing. This is really a breakthrough. And finally, the last trend that the global wellness industry put out for 2020 was about scientific evidence becoming more important, and the fact that there is more money being put into clinical trials about many of these topics we just talked about. And again, I really think it comes down to, let's understand the systems we were given and how they interact with each other and our 6 senses. Because yes, we have more than 5. Fact number 4. Scientific research is catching up. That plays on the last trend by the Global Wellness Institute. I'm going to just share 2 things with you because I couldn't help myself. I had to share with you that there was a couple studies done on the benefits of secular meditation versus spiritual meditation. Well, the headline is that meditation helps everybody. It helps decrease symptoms, and it increases mood. But the people who did spiritual meditation had enhanced results. And I think that was absolutely fascinating. They did, one of the studies was about chronic fatigue among breast cancer survivors. So when we get a fact like this, put that in your back pocket and say, meditation is part of the service I provide, and it has evidence to back it up, in case anybody is looking for that sort of assurance. Because I find that you sort of in mainstream conversation sometimes have to persuade people, educate them about mind, body, spirit disciplines and their efficacy. I mean, on one hand, maybe you don't want to talk to the non-believers, but if somebody's skeptical, or a true skeptic listens, a true skeptic is curious, they will weigh the evidence in a logical way. And if we have the evidence in our back pocket, I think that conversation will last a little longer. And, I will tell you a little later about some of the research that I'm doing with Mindstream, and that is to understand where people are on a skeptical continuum. What do non-believers do for mind, body, spirit? What do skeptics participate in? And what do the believers do? Well, the believers, like me, will try anything and have a great sense of belief and things we can't necessarily touch and feel, but believe in. And skeptics are a little more conservative, but they will try some things, whereas non-believers will stick to massage, yoga, maybe a little sound therapy on an app when they're trying to fall asleep, kind of thing. So we're mapping that as part of a research project. Fact number 5, I'm going to share a screen with you. People are curious about the things within mind, body, spirit. They may not admit it, but they are curious. And I'm just going to show you for a moment a couple screens from Google Trends. I looked at the last 5 years, and by 5 years, I'm not really including 2020, because when we all went into lockdown, internet usage was up over 500%, and searches took a different interest. So I looked from 2014 largely to 2019, and then interesting things happened in 2020. But what we're seeing here is that the searches for anxiety, depression, stress, these 3 lines, you can see how they have gone up. And stress and depression are pretty well aligned. I mean, they're mixed in with anxiety there. But the reality is they have gone up. Now, let's look at mindfulness and meditation. They have also gone up. I don't know if my Google Sheets bar here is blocking the dates there. I hope not. But you can see that these things are on an upward trajectory. What I'd like to say is I'd like to see these top 3 lines drop down, and I'd like to see mindfulness and meditation go up. So we have work to do. Here's another one, depression and meditation. Oh, look at, we almost got there. Do you see that blue line coming down, the red line going up? Look how close that was for a moment in time. I mean, this is not representative of who's feeling what, but these are specific, this is one measure we can look at. There are no measures for this. There are no measures. I mean, we're grasping at air here. It's been 3 years trying to look into this stuff. It's impossible. But this I felt was something that was a little encouraging, but it shows that there is work to be done yet, which I'm sure everybody knows. So, continuing, fact 6, there's a conversation right now. I'm sure you've been part of it, or you've noticed it for the last 3 to 5 years, a public conversation about what is right and what is wrong. And it's not just happening in your town hall, it's happening on the internet, which means everybody can be part of the conversation. I'm talking about teenagers in the US, Emma Gonzalez saying, our kids, we're dying because of your gun laws here. Greta Thunberg saying, I shouldn't be standing here talking to you about climate change. So um, these kinds of conversations, the planet is on fire, kids are dying, hashtag me too. Um, Suicide has really come to the fore, particularly with, unfortunately, high profile, deaths such as Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. I mean, the list goes on, but even democracies, the democratic system has been under fire. We saw this in France, we've seen it in Spain, certainly questions about, the UK being in Europe, Trump's impeachment, we could go on with him. But the point is that people are watching, and they're thinking about what's right or wrong, and they're participating in a conversation about morality. I mean, we certainly saw it with police brutality and racism, which happened to George Floyd in May. I mean, there was a global response to that. So is morality making a comeback? Boy, that's a great topic for another talk. I'd love to comment on that. But I'm telling you that consequences and accountability are emerging. People's consciousness is being raised about things, and their conscience is being raised about very big issues. And you can just look at the news for that. I think this is a very positive thing, because that means people are not acting as automatons. They're thinking, they're feeling, they're potentially, considering these larger aspects of life and participating in the conversation. This is the only way you get change. I'd like to talk about millennials. I don't know if there are any millennials on the call, but millennials and those who are younger than are really representing a huge change in the old system to what is the now and the coming scene. And that is that millennials are, they treasure meaning. This follows on from the last thing about what's right and wrong and accountability. Again, I have a pile. I have actually 15 pages worth of very encouraging information about how professionals are aligning with their values moving forward. So I'll just share a couple of these. 84% of millennials say that helping make a positive difference in the world is more important than professional recognition. 63% of millennials want their employer to contribute to social causes they felt were important. That study also said only 50% of Gen X and Boomers felt that that was important. So that's a pretty significant increase. 88% of millennials prefer collaborative work culture than a competitive one. And the thing that really struck me is that most millennials would rather earn $40,000 doing a job that they thought was meaningful and enjoyed, rather than making $100,000 in a job they thought was boring or wasn't aligned with what they cared about. So what I'm telling you is there's an aspect of millennials that is morally driven. They may not say morals. That's another bad word. Nobody wants to talk about morals anymore. It's all about everything goes. But I think people are secretly getting their sense of what's right and what's wrong, and they're being thoughtful about it. This is fantastic, great news. Whenever anybody is sad about the future, I can't help but be excited about the future. I feel that we've got younger generations who are not afraid to speak out for what they care about. I mean, there's a lot of good news. Fact 8 is about brand trust. I'm not going to get into it too much because you can Google it and you will see that trust is the equalizer among companies today when it comes to a competitive edge. So especially in the aftermath of Corona here, well, I guess we're still in the midst of it, but are you going to possibly risk your health if a company is not following the rules? Brand trust is absolutely huge, and it's going to only increase. Fact 9 is about company culture, and it's very similar. Harvard Business Review, Accenture, all these people have done a bunch of studies, and they all said you need to work on your company culture if you want to attract employees and you want to retain them. So companies right now aren't just investing in their product and trying to be as efficient as possible. They know the key to their success is about people. And again, this gets back to values. And so this is a very positive thing. People have to step back. They have to think about their values. They have to think about, how am I going to act in accordance with my values? How am I going to communicate that? Well, the way to discover all this is through reflection. It's through self-awareness. Ding, 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 mind, body, spirit. This is a calling. This is an opportunity for this industry to step forth and say, this is how you can benefit by participating in this if you wish. Finally, the 10th fact I'd like to say about the momentum behind the mind-body-spirit movement is that spiritual offerings are moving into the mainstream. We may be at the tip of the iceberg here, but you and the people who come to the Arthur Conan Doyle Center for their training and practice there are the people who are going to be holding the torches and leading the parade, because Susan Harmsworth, she's the one that founded ESPA, the spa, and sold it off to a giant hotel company. She's been working in the wellness industry for 50 years. She's a pioneer. She did a talk, and which I attended, and she said that companies in the wellness industry that offer physical services, facials, massage, spa experiences, are going to now start adding spiritual services to their menus. Organizations that offer spiritual services may want to think about diversifying and adding physical practices also to what you do. But for me, the light started flashing figuratively when I heard that physical wellness businesses need to add spiritual aspects. So I would speak to the people on this call who are mind, body, spirit practitioners and say that is an opportunity for you to reach out to any wellness-oriented places in your area, or if you can serve through online calls like this one, is to extend your services. You could even quote Susan Harmsworth. You can go to Mindstream and find that, or email me at the end, and I'll give you that. This is evidence you can put in your back pocket that says, you need me. You need spiritual services on your menu. That's something I can help with. Same thing as with personal development. People are crazy about personality tests today. They all want to learn more about themselves, I think anything in the personal development and spiritual area is only going to increase. So those are 10 facts that are really great evidence, I think, for you to consider, and that there is momentum building in the mind, body, spirit movement. And each one of those brought an opportunity. I'm just going to spend a short bit on the rest of this so we could get to some questions. But you may very well be aware of the challenge. I feel we are on a mission. All the light workers out there, all the health workers, anybody in the wellness profession, whatever side of it you're on, this has actually really come to the forefront in recent years. Just think of the UK government created a position for a loneliness minister. You know, loneliness is at the heart of mental health. Another common thing we can look to in more physical conditions is inflammation. You know, inflammation is something that's common among every single disease or condition. It's like one of the things. Now, what if we focused on reducing loneliness? What if we focused on reducing inflammation? Well, one thing we can do about inflammation is it's so much about what we ingest. It's not everything, but I mean, all the sugar. I mean, is the government ever going to crack down on all the food additives and sugar with the food lobby? You know, good luck. It's been tried. It's been tried before, and it's tough. But among the challenges that we have are that the healthcare systems are broken. You can really look in the US and the UK and you'll know this. And they're financially broke. So just as you can look to the news. I'm not giving you any news flash with that, but dis-ease is very expensive. In 2016, which is the number that I could find, poor mental health in the UK cost businesses 35 billion pounds. I mean, if anything is saying we need to look at mental health, a figure like this is. And mind, body, spirit pathways can help people with that. There's been a great strain on the NHS. Of course, this has only exponentially grown because of coronavirus. It's to the point that the NHS actually issued a call for help. They put a call out to say, we would like secondary health resources to step up and help us reduce the number of people who need to go to see their general practitioner, and help us reduce the amount of people that need to go to A&E, the emergency room. They've called upon this other workforce. Mind, body, spirit workers are that workforce. So how do we get the message out that there is another choice than NHS GPs and going to hospital? We need a voice to do that. We need it to be part of the system. And, you know, Mindstream certainly recognizes this and is trying to give this voice to this need and accentuate systems that are already in place about it. I found something out recently that after 3 years of researching the landscape of mind, body, spirit, complementary and alternative health in the UK, I recently learned about a place called the Centre for Integrative Care in Glasgow. And I learned that this is the only purpose-built NHS facility in the UK for complementary and alternative health. They are an NHS facility that offers things like meditation, massage, homeopathy, music therapy, art therapy. There's actually a very long list. And do you know that anybody in Scotland has access to this hospital? Why is it never brought up? How come none of us know this? How come we've never seen a leaflet in the waiting room? That's because, as I've learned, there's been a change. It's political, it's financial. The original idea was that anybody could get a referral to the Center for Integrative Care so they could find out if complementary or alternative therapies were right for them. But now the health boards don't want to refer someone because they're getting billed back for it. I'm still learning about this topic, but this is an absolute travesty. The government has said, we believe that patients should have access to complementary alternative care, but there are blockades in the way. So the government's intention is actually not being fulfilled. This is a cause I feel very passionately about, and I'm continually learning about this, and I'm going to cover it on Mindstream because it's just so important. And Scotland has been a leader in complementary and alternative therapies, in medicine in general, going back, hundreds, 100 years, not only from the traditional medical aspect, but also in 2018, global headlines all said, Scottish GPs are now prescribing nature. It's absolutely fascinating. So Scotland, I think, has been on the forefront of these therapies, mind, body, spirit, for a very long time, and that continues today. And I believe that it is a model for other countries. So keep going, Scotland. I want to tell you something else I learned in the past month that actually, fascinated me. It was so exciting to learn. Do you know that the NHS offers spiritual care? Is there anybody who I can see your photo that knew that the NHS offered spiritual care, non-religious spiritual care? I was shocked. Because when I was trying to find out what therapies were accepted by the NHS, that's how I found out about the Center for Integrative Care in Glasgow. And then I found out that the chaplains in hospitals in Scotland used to be with the Church of Scotland, going back ages ago. But even in 2008, they changed what they do based on scientific evidence. Well, it was qualitative evidence, scientific evidence, that showed that people improved their conditions after surgery or their health in general when they had access to spiritual care. So the NHS Scotland actually has chaplains who are not affiliated necessarily with a religious order. You can get a certificate as a spiritual care chaplain, and you can even get an advanced graduate degree in Glasgow to operate as a spiritual care chaplain in, it's actually expanding beyond Scotland now. It's actually expanding to other parts of the UK. This is a model. They don't know where this is happening elsewhere. There is a professor who is the foremost academic published expert on spiritual care in clinical settings. He's in the US and Ohio, but Scotland has really been committed to this. And what spiritual care means is person-centered spiritual care. What they do is they talk and listen to the patient, discover what their personal values are, and they focus on those person's values to inform how they're going to approach their wellness plan. This is another significant shift, like I said, about the global wellness economy being 3 times the size of the pharma economy. This is a significant shift, and it also separates the spiritual from the religious in a cool way. So that should, knock down anybody's objection about, I don't want to hear about spirit and religion. I'm not religious, I'm an atheist, Sorry for that characterization. But hopefully you understand the gist of what I'm saying. I also want to tell you a fascinating thing I learned. There are 80,000 alternative health practitioners on accredited registers in the UK. So the closest I could find to workforce numbers for Mind, Body, Spirit was that 80,000 alternative health practitioners are on accredited registers. 75% of them say they're underutilized for public health. That is an emergency, okay? The NHS has no money, it has no bandwidth. People are dying because they can't get in for a diagnosis, they can't get in for treatment. But what if we looked at the mind, body, spirit area, the complementary, the alternative, natural health, the spiritual healing? There's an opportunity here. I mean, sometimes steam comes out of my ears when I come upon these facts because there's an urgency, there is a real problem, and I believe that mind, body, spirit is part of the solution. I'd also like to say that we all know that the pandemic has just put the burden on top of individuals and the system exponentially. Everything has just gotten worse. The World Health Organization said a lot of money needs to be spent to avert the coming mental health crisis globally. They said it in March. Imagine what it is now in September. There was a very significant change that happened with the pandemic, and I wrote about it on Mindstream, and that is that responsibility for your own health has now shifted to you, the individual. We're the ones that had to get supplements. We're the ones that had to get a mask and hand sanitizer and that sort of thing. This contagion that's been going around wasn't about it was sort of invisible. And so we had to take precautions ourselves. And I think in many cases, people learned that the onus is on them to protect themselves. They can't just, live without a care and then run to A&E when there's a problem. And so what I'm doing is I'm viewing this as a very positive marker that people are getting a little proactive and taking little responsibility for, you know what, I have a say about my health and wellness, and I'm going to do everything I can to increase the odds of being healthy, of staying well, or of not getting sick. I'm going to try to wrap up in 3 minutes here with this. I know it's a lot to take in because it's a lot of numbers and facts, and those things are much easier to read than to hear, I think, in a lot of cases. But I'd like to share a tiny bit about what I've done with all of this information. As I told you, I spent 3 years trying to understand this landscape, try to understand the challenges of elevating the mind, body, spirit disciplines and the people who are delivering these beautiful services. My work is not done. I am a student. I serve you. The people who work and are the experts in this area tell me how I can help you. The people who are looking for these services, I mean, I can relate because that's what brought me here, being one of those people looking for information. Tell me what you need. Tell me how you need it. Let me see if I can help align you to and connect you in an authentic way. It's very easy to, promote things and put a big splash around it. But the thing about mind, body, spirit is that because these are unregulated industries for a large part, because they are dealing with aspects that science can't yet prove, and there are mixed standards for every single protocol, discipline, modality, intervention, we have a challenge. We have a credibility challenge. We need to sort of talk about it amongst ourselves, and we need to then be able to portray it to the public in a way that they can understand, in a way that they can act upon. This is really important. So the first thing I've done, and I'm continuing to do it, and I will never stop doing it, is researching the people involved with Mind, Body, Spirit. The first round of research I did in 2017, and I'm happy to say the Arthur Conan Doyle Center was a partner in my research. Many of the people who visit the center participated in my consumer survey, and some professionals did too, but I had a great response from professionals throughout the UK and consumers as well. What I learned is a little bit of what I told you earlier. Professionals who answered the survey were about 68% women answered who work in Mind, Body, Spirit. They absolutely love their job. I've got 2 pages of quotes you wouldn't believe. You know, I feel called to my work. I mean, just overwhelming fulfillment that people who work in these disciplines feel. They 84% of them said the public needs to be educated on what I do. They don't understand it. I have to spend some of my time doing that. The public needs education. The public has told me they need to be educated on all these things too. Professionals, like I said, are largely self-employed, independent workers. They are the boss, they are the janitor, they're doing everything. And sometimes they don't have the training to do some of this business-oriented stuff. So I thought, is there a way that we could take that off their plate and make that easier? So we're looking into that. Energy management is another big one. If you work in Mind, Body, Spirit, very often you're giving of your own energy. How do you protect that so you can be healthy yourself and serve others? So that's a key thing. And another one is issues around money. Actually, a lot of people in the creative and intuitive disciplines, wonder, should I actually be charging for something I feel is a gift from God, something that comes from within? I actually hosted a panel discussion on this last year for National Freelancers Day, and I recommend it because we got into every single aspect around money matters, and it's absolutely fascinating. So what I'm telling you is that the Mind, Body, Spirit workforce has unique challenges that need to be met, and Mindstream wants to elevate them, wants to arm them to do what they do authentically. And I can certainly talk more about that another time. Consumers find out about Mind, Body, Spirit therapies from other people. Word of mouth is the #1 driver, professionals say, and so do consumers say that. But what if your friends don't do any Mind, Body, Spirit stuff? What if they're not the kind of people that would share information about that sort of thing? We need to make it okay for people to talk about. We need to make those resources available and easy to understand. You saw some of the Google results. We need to make it easier, and we all need to sort of be singing the same song, you know. Some of the very interesting research that came out of that was really mapping what people's belief was and what their behavior was. And this will be featured on the research section of mindstreamconnect.com in the next month. And I'd love to share it with you. But basically, in addition to finding out what non-believers and skeptics and believers practice, which could then lead them to something else. So if you tell me that you check your horoscope in the newspaper, but you're not open to a celestial movement affecting your life, that's an opportunity for you to learn about, you know, what astrology is all about. Do you know that astrology was part of the standard medical consultations through the 1500s? John Dee, D-E-E, was a very prominent British doctor, philosopher, and astrologer. I went to a talk in Edinburgh at the Royal College of Physicians, where one of their people from London came up and talked about John Dee. I think if people knew that astrology for 1,000 years, at least, was part of medical diagnosis and treatment, they might think twice about that discipline. This is just a matter of educating people. And then, and I'll just tell you right now that to finish up, is that Mindstream is working with the University of Stirling on a research project that's being funded by the Scottish Funding Council to create two interactive tools for the public to better understand the landscape of mind, body, spirit disciplines and find out what is the right one for them based on their needs, which may be medical, or their goals, which may be about their purpose in life and that sort of personal development. So finally, what can we all do about it? Well, I told you that I am listening. I am listening to the public and I'm listening to professionals. How can I help you as a consumer learn about this stuff and find the right practitioner for you for the right kind of discipline? If you go to mindstreamconnect.com, you can sign up for our newsletter, and I will be talking about the research and other ways to weigh in on this as we collect information. And as a professional, we have a research panel, and I would invite anybody working in Mind, Body, Spirit to go to mindstreamconnect.com/RSVP, or to sign up for a newsletter and indicate that you're a professional, and then you could participate in our research, and then you would also get some benefits for the action that we're going to take to build some tools and that sort of thing. So, you know, so what we're doing right now is we're mapping these therapies. We're understanding people's belief system and helping pull them along to try different mind, body, spirit therapies based on their beliefs and needs. But I would say to people who are working in mind, body, spirit, what can you do to support this movement? I'm sure you are doing everything you can right now. And I want you to know that you should have absolute confidence during this pandemic lockdown and after that your services are going to be in demand. If I can help you either by sharing some of these research points as you educate people about what you do, or if I can, you know, give you some guidance, other work on what you're doing digitally, on social media, your communications, how you're positioning yourself, anything like that. Free 15-minute consultation to anybody on this call. And please participate in our research or email me anytime because I really want to support your cause. So please get the facts and speak with confidence about what you do and be very proud of what you do because you're the next wave. Okay, you are the next wave of healthcare. And I'm not suggesting people stop going to traditional medicine. These are complementary. Sometimes they're alternative. They're absolutely enriching. Seekers, consumers like me, what can you do? I would say be a little more willing at the cocktail party, even if it's virtual, with your friends, on Facebook, to be a little more open about your interests in mind, body, spirit. If you feel that your peer group is not really into this, then connect with people who are interested, whether it's a meetup group, which they're all doing Zooms now, whether it's a book club with a focus on mind, body, spirit, there's a great idea. You know, be a little more willing to be open. But I would also say, do your research. When you're looking at booking a session for something, or recommending something to somebody, please do your research, become an educated consumer about that therapy and also about that person's credentials. I need to make a very important point here. I think I saw something pop up on the chat about, will we be having a directory? Yes, mindstreamconnect.com will be having a directory of professionals where people can tell their own stories in an authentic way and position yourself to the people who are seeking your services. We will also be having educational areas about all the therapies, among other things. Authenticity and trust and credibility are absolutely going to be essential. They're going to be the bottom line. You must meet those. But I have to tell you something. I don't think spending 75 pounds or $75 to belong to an association means that you necessarily, are that everybody, let me rephrase this. Just because you belong to an association doesn't mean you're great at what you do. Okay, I see some nodding there in agreement. Just because you went to a course and you list it doesn't mean you're fantastic at what you do. I have a lot of respect for people who have learned things naturally, who have inherited certain things, who have a disposition towards certain things. And you know what people pay attention to, whether it's a pair of shoes or a restaurant or a hotel or a mind, body, spirit practitioner, is reviews. So that's going to be part of our directory when the time comes. And testimonials are very important. If you've got a website, get testimonials up there. People know there's going to be a little bias. You wouldn't ask somebody to give you a quote if they had a terrible experience, but people pay attention to word of mouth, and this is moving online. It's already here, but it's going to increase. And so I think that I think we're all looking for integrity when we're searching to connect with people in a personal or professional way. And there's things that mind, body, spirit practitioners can do, but it's also important for consumers to realize that, a bunch of degrees or a bunch of letters after your name gives you confidence, but one practitioner might appeal to one person and not be right for another person. It's like when somebody picks a therapist, for example, or a business coach, they need somebody that resonates with what they're about. They must feel connected. They're not so much buying the skills at that point as they are responding to the person. So it's so important in mind, body, spirit. None of the businesses in mind, body, spirit are commodities. They're all special. And the practitioners are all different. Now, call me crazy, but I don't think competition is an issue for people in mind, body, spirit, because your vibe, your story is going to speak to somebody to attract the right person for you. I do a business strategy boot camp through Mindstream Connect. I've been doing this course in business in general since 2012, and recently did the first course for mind, body, spirit professionals. And I would love to talk to you about that. Again, just email me for a 15-minute chat, and we can discuss that. But it's absolutely essential to be your real self, to be authentic, and get that message communicated to the consumers. And for the consumers then to share their love about their experience with you. And so we can all enjoy greater quality of life through these beautiful disciplines. It's really all here for us. So I hope that is helpful to you. I realize it can be very hard listening to all of this without seeing it on paper, but I'm going to I realize we're out of time, so if anybody has to go, I understand that. But take a note of my email address or my phone number here, and please, send me an email or give me a shout, even on Twitter or Facebook. And I've got so much energy for this. This is my passion. So definitely stay tuned to Mindstream Connect for much of what I've talked about. Much of it's there. More of it will be there soon, and more to come on this. But I want to thank you so much, and thank you to the Doyle Center for having me. So
Thank
I'm
you
happy
very
to
much.
answer questions.
Okay, folks, we are out of time. So very quickly, before we leave, it's just to let you know that next Tuesday we have David Lorimer with us. David Lorimer will be discussing gnosis in a future science of consciousness. So he is looking at non-dual gnosis, which has been signified for him in the rise of interest in the mystical and subjects such as near-death experiences over the last 50 years. And he argues that they are one expression of non-dual gnosis, which can give us insight into deeper structures of consciousness where head and heart come together, an overall participatory approach. So please do come and join us for that. And it's interesting how that topic really does resonate with what we've been discussing this evening about mind, body, spirit, and just how huge a topic this is. So thank you everybody for coming along this evening. Liza discussed so many areas, each one would be a talk in their own right. So I'm sure she will be back to answer our questions and to discuss this in a different capacity. One
Chloe.
of the issues with the mind body spirit market is that it is a very big issue. It's a very wide ranging market. And for those who are trying to navigate their way through the market, we absolutely need people like Liza with Mindstream to give us an understanding of what's available out there. And as Liza says, there isn't at the moment any regulatory body for a lot of these therapies, which is difficult and frustrating both for the therapists and also for the consumers. But there's lots and lots of interest, and the interest is growing, and that is wonderful. So one question just before we finish that was asked by David, and it is the question of how do you police properly such a wide array of therapies such as are covered in the mind, body, spirit skill sets? Do you have any ideas on that, Liza?
It's a great idea. First of all, the CNHC is doing that right now for the therapies that they cover, which is like osteopath, chiropractic, and some of the other more mainstream ones. So anybody can write to them, and they have a process. The Spiritualist Union, of which mediums belong to, if they are associated with spiritualists, and even healers who belong to the spiritualists. The Spiritualists Union has a process also for consumer protection. So these are two organizations from the pretty standard health-oriented medical type treatments and spiritualists, mediums, and healers. That's kind of a continuum there um, that are regulating. So the first hand would be to look in within the unique therapies, find out who the organizations are that govern that area. And if you do go to a professional, find out who they belong to and check them out. I mean, you're dealing with your health here. You want to know someone's credentials. You want to know if they went to 3 weekends of training or 12 months of training with 6 months of practice clients. This is going to become more important as we go. And as a professional, you want to protect yourself. You want to make sure you have insurance, that you're complying with things, and professional associations can help there. As a consumer, again, we don't want to take the risk with our health or certainly our energy being messed up by some faux practitioner. That sounds really scary to me, actually. So we have to do, the onus is on us to go check out who the practitioners are, and word of mouth is going to be really important too. So, David, I hope that addresses your question.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending this evening. We ran out of time, but it's always better to leave you wanting more than to run too long. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Thank you so much, Liza, for sharing your time and your years of expertise and information with us. I'm sure you'll be inundated with questions. So thank you
Please
very much.
email me.
Okay, so take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week for David Lorimer. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.